quick little review on how the new setup here is back for launching. It's pretty good. It's very similar. Just a few little differences, like the reel is further back, and it's actually better for me because as it goes out, the anchor hits the bottom, and when that happens, the drum is spinning at pretty much full speed, so I can just step over here and put my palm on it, slow it down, keep it from backlashing, and that helps out a lot. Other benefits are that my bait tubs are more close at hand. We actually just put them up on the table here now, and that's pretty convenient. The buoys and all the gear can actually just stay back here. Baiting table, launching, shotgun, all that stuff doesn't have to come off every time it's time to haul, which is actually very nice. It's a couple of minutes every time. So over here you can see our salted bait is tucked nicely over in this bin here, along with our hooks and just other kind of various implements. All in all, it worked out pretty good back here. People are commenting on our previous video. I guess it would be vinyl part 2, just concerns about deck space issues and everything, about where we'll put fish, and just having a lack of space in general, I guess. And so, yeah, I guess not really an issue for us. We've always just, it's the same deck space, actually.
Yeah.
All in all, like, we haven't added anything, so it's the same.
Yep, same amount of gear, same footprint of everything to speak of, and so it has worked out really well. There's a lot less shuffling of things around. Like Matt said, there's a designated spot for bait to go. This wouldn't be possible, otherwise we'd probably be storing this extra bait down in the fish hold, which can be inconvenient to get in and out of. Our tubs before, when they'd come on and get pinned, they'd always need to be moved up forward, and then they'd get brought back to be baited or to be stored at the end of a trip. So you couldn't access the forward hold very well on the starboard side, kind of because this whole area was right in the way. Same thing with our hydraulics in the corner. The control for our pump is in that corner, and so we always found ourselves kind of awkwardly climbing over these tubs and the reel, trying to get back in there, trying to grab our extra wash down hose, or use those valves if we need to swing a boom, or use a picking boom or anything like that.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that part of it. That was always an annoyance. So yeah, that's a very nice change right there.
Yep.
Itself.
Like Matt said, now the setting table and the bazooka, those never need to be moved. Those can just stay there, so you've always got an extra table. As we bait up our hooks, the first one going out can just be put there and forgotten about. A lot less moving stuff around in that regard too. Always moving these baited tubs around. Yeah, they'd always just be right in the way. Yep. You need to get into your ice hold. They'd be sitting over here on this one. If you imagine the reel being pushed forward and turned, it'd pretty much come to right around here. Yeah, the reel is actually took up a lot more space than it seems like, but like Matt said, it was right about in here. And so in terms of fish hold access or anything, we were actually always accessing it through the small side of our hatch where it was hinged, and now we're just accessing it through this side, and so it's quite convenient. You know, like, much more room. Offloading is a little bit more of a challenge. We have some ideas how we're going to fix that. Basically, we're going to probably put this reel on a slider, so when we come to town we can push it over that way and get better access. Or, you know, I suppose we could just have them lifted off too if we really wanted to. It's just a few bolts and a couple of hoses, but that's a little more inconvenient. You know, like everything, there's pros and cons, and that might be one One drawback is offloading isn't quite as easy, but that's not really that big of a thing.
Nah, not a big deal. They should be able to. Well, I mean, if we're offloading to the plant, it's always the crew coming down to offload for us, and there's usually 2 or 3 guys standing around because of our limited hold space anyways, so they'll be able to assembly line it into a
likely we'll just unbolt our table back there and move it out of their way. They can put their braille in the back there, and just a little bit of a roundabout thing, really not that big of a deal.
I guess aside from that, coming forward, the hauling station, it's working out really good.
Yeah, it's much more comfortable. For me, I have my controls up here. They're in a much better spot than back there. I always worried about them getting hit back there when Matt's moving anchors around or setting or even in town. This is just the control for the shift and throttle is just plastic, and I mean it's easy to damage. Same thing with the follow-up lever. These are actually discontinued. You can't even get them, so I certainly don't want to break that. And so up here it's out of the way. It's tucked up out of the way. You can't really bump it if you're working safe. It's easy to operate. This boom would be up right now. It's just down. We can drop it down when we're traveling. So it's really easy for me just to stand here and operate the vessel and steer right here. I got my controls for the reel right here, just all within arm's reach. So it's very comfortable in that regard. All of our hydraulic stuff is accessible. Our other valves for the boom and our single, the flow valve that operates this pacer pump right here. That stuff is easy to access. Got good access to 3 fish holds. The 4th one is not terrible. It's actually better than before. As you can see, there's much more room to actually get in there and access it. Only thing we had to do was just remove the pin on the hinges for this hold. Easy enough to do. I think it took about 5 minutes for Matt to do that.
Yeah, no time at all.
Yeah, so all in all, it's worked out really well. These are our main ice storage holds right here, and so we still have really good access. Before, this fish hold was pretty much not usable because the gear drive extended like over here, and it was just...
Yeah, it was a pain.
It really was. There just was not any room in there at all. So all in all, it's much better fish hold access.
Mm-hmm. We actually have our chest freezer on board still. It's got some bait in it, some squid bait, so I guess we actually did use up more of our free space, but that couldn't actually be on the boat before because of just the arrangement.
Yeah.
It would have had nowhere to go. So
some other nice things. Matt modified his measuring table here, so it's easy for him just to drop a halibut in here. Here's the line. He just took the grinder and put a slot there. So the marker, the marker wouldn't rub off, and he just kind of hit it with the marker there and make it a little bit easier to see.
Yep, you might remember this table is in the back. It was a flat table before, and it's always been hingeable, but we just never utilized that function. But yeah, it works good.
Let me fire up real quick.
Okay.
So this is what we're hauling through right here. So no more roller for me. This we can just lift up out into this position when we're hauling gear. If we happen to get snagged up, you get a lot of pressure pulling down on the boat. So you can just drop this down low, reduce your center of gravity. Makes it a little safe. You don't have a bunch of tension on this in your face, at least it's down lower. And in terms of hauling, it's much more comfortable. For those of you folks that maybe operate a boat and tow something, that anytime you have a line going off your stern in the back, your ability to turn is very limited. In the case of like towing on a seine or something like that, you actually steer the opposite way when you're towing, and so to haul off the stern, it's very hard to turn and back down on something like going in reverse like we did before. There's also a lot of disadvantages because you're going in reverse and your line is going behind you. If you have a big tangle coming up, it tends to want to drift underneath the boat, so you have to be very careful not to get that in your propeller and foul it. Off the side here, you're generally having your line go down the side like this. Occasionally it gets under the boat, but for the most part you want it to be, any tangles would flow back behind you along the side, but generally speaking your line is going straight down this way, or ideally a little bit forward like this. Sometimes it's over here, sometimes it's this way a little bit. Sometimes you get off the gear and it ends up behind you, but you can easily turn the vessel and get spun on it. You can't do that hauling off the stern. It's a lot more comfortable for me to clip and unclip hooks. I've got up to here to do it, instead of before the rail was about this height, the roller, and that was kind of, had to unclip it before the roller, or if I missed it I had to guide it over and unclip it. So I'm not bending down as much as I used to, hardly at all, and so it's a lot easier on my body in that respect. When it comes up this way and there's fish on it, generally they hang straighter like that. Even if they do twist up a little bit, you can unclip them and grab right there and it'll just fall right out. So it seems to be, the ganyons don't seem to twist up on the line as much. What else is nice about this? It's just easier to run gear.
Yeah, it's easier to run gear when we get skates, big skates, or long nose skates. They can get pretty heavy. The big ones, easily 75, 80 pounds.
Yeah.
We can just haul them up with the line here and can leave it clipped on and shake them off a lot easier.
Yeah, we bring it up to about right there, and so you can reach in with your gaff and shake them.
Yeah, before we can do it on the roller, because once that snap hits the roller with a heavy load on it, it'll either mangle your snap or pop it right off the line.
And lose it in the fish. And so things like that are easier too. Back there I'd always clip them off and hold them and then pass them over to Matt and he'd shake them. The really big ones were a hassle. Very, very tiring to work with.
Yeah.
So, I think that's what pretty well covers it. All in all, just very few drawbacks. Still getting used to handling the fish on board. We're probably going to switch to longer ganyons. When we first started halibut fishing, we did have longer ganyons, and we still have those at home. So we're probably going to start retrofitting all our gear to those longer ones. Not sure. I think we're probably going to try out some longer ones with this green poly twine, because it's a lot better than just a traditional halibut ganyon material. It holds up really well. If it gets kinks in it like this, it doesn't tend to hockle the line and create a weak point. The other traditional halibut ganyon twine that Powers Twine makes is an outer core with an inner core, and once that outer one gets chafed, it's pretty much done. If you get a big fish on there, it'll break it. So not only do you lose a $1 hook, you also lose a fish that can be worth a considerable amount of money. So this stuff does really well. It's a lot more abrasion resistant and generally just is much stronger.
Yeah.
Another question we get a lot is, how do we attach these and detach them? So these are just a simple clip. You just squeeze them and you clip them on. Quite simple, really. So when they go out, you clip them on. This is one of the few shots of smaller line that we have. So this one will slip a little bit on here, but if it just gets a slight bend in it, it really doesn't move too much. Takes quite a bit of resistance just slide it down, and usually it'll just run up against another ganion and stop, so it's no big deal. And yeah, when they come on, you just squeeze and unclip, so it's very easy to do. And another nice thing is now I've got a spot to hold pin tubs. I am going to get a rack here though, actually, because it's a little bit inconvenient to have to turn around, and it takes my eyes off the water where they need to be. So
yeah,
you can put a little rack up here where I can just rack my hooks, but I can clear them off there. I can also just reach over here and hook them here. That made this so it can slide forward a bit more for me, and I can just put the empties there, and then he can grab them and bait them or pin them or whatever else we got going on.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I can bait and pin hooks right here. I just have my pile of bait there and a tub there, and I just bait up a pile of hooks, stack them, and then grab the bundle, slap them in the tub there. And the same thing for pinning. I'll gather about 5 right here and just grab the bundle and pin them on the tub, and it works good.
Yeah, so I guess that's the big overview of everything here, and
yeah, I guess a quick little, not really a Q&A, but more of just an addressing of the comments and concerns.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it too.
Yeah.
I think overall the improvements or the positives outweigh the negatives. So
yeah,
just a couple of little more inconvenient stuff, but it's I think it outweighs the goods outweigh the bad.
Yeah, and most boats do haul gear off the starboard side here, or starboard or port. Starboard is pretty traditional, I guess, and you know, on your midships you can always turn and pivot on a line that has a load, but like I say, off the stern you can't. And so it will make hauling a lot easier if it's breezy out or if there's current running. Before, we're just kind of at the mercy of that. All we can do is pretty much just back up on it and let the line pull the boat, and that's not ideal at all.
Yeah, that's actually like a lot more weight than doing this, isn't it? Like when you think about it, it's a lot more work on the gearbox and hydraulics and everything.
Yeah, it is, and the line itself. You're putting strain on the line.
Yeah, right now we can just like pretty much lift the line like by hand.
Yeah, unless we're hung up or something, or there's a lot of fish on it. We couldn't actually steer from back there, and you need to be able to steer or you can't really haul off the side, or you'll just be doing the same thing. You'll be pulling your vessel sideways through the water. And so so that was a big reason that we set up on the stern, is that we could just pull the boat with the line, and it worked. So there is some boats that fish this way off the stern, primarily the Russian fleet. And there is pros and cons. One of the biggest ones is that you really have to be careful that you don't get line in your wheel, because the second you stop your reel turning, the line slacks underneath you and you drift right over the top of it. So if you have a big tangle or anything come up and you stop the reel to try and clear it, you're just drifting right over the top of that, and it's going to go right into your propeller. And so that's one of the biggest things that you have to be super careful of right there.
That's also kind of the same for big fish too, is when
big
you
fish
stop,
would get underneath.
when you stop the reel, they float right under your boat and start thrashing around and get away.
Yeah, you can avoid it by just bumping it in the gear, just kind of keeping water pressure, blowing everything up behind you, but that's not very good either. Big fish, you can lose them like that. So anyways, yeah, I'm glad that we got it switched over.
Me too.
Probably one of the last advantages is it finally forced us to put a rail on the side too.
Yeah.
Something that we've been meaning to get to for a very, very long time and just hadn't. Last fall we had a bunch of metal that we ordered from down south and shipped up, and so we got enough pipe to do the side. And Oh, I think it took about 2 days really to fabricate all this and get welded up. It went pretty quick.
It honestly didn't take very long at all.
Yeah.
And it turned out really good too. A little bit of work left, a couple of legs in the corner. And
yeah, some cleanup. A couple
stuff.
of my welds, I just, like, these butt joints right here just need to be ground down and cleaned up.
Yeah, it all turned out really good though.
We did just decide to just weld this one permanently on the side, and we'll do the same on the other. We don't plan on seining this vessel again. And even if we did, honestly, this wouldn't be a problem right here on the back part right here. Over here, we'd have to modify it so we could roll fish on board, but the rails aren't that big of a deal otherwise.
That was a good one to get done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's a little update for you guys. Thanks for all the comments and questions and concerns.
Yeah, we appreciate your support, and hope you enjoyed the update.
Yeah, be looking forward to a lot more halibut videos coming up soon.
Until then, we'll catch you later.
Yep, see you guys.